Hey guys, it's another Beatles fan, and here we are. It's a great month, isn't it? Ringo's just come out with a new album, and even though I'm not a huge follower of Ringo's work, I gotta be honest, I kind of dipped my toe into it, but that's it. Um, he's been doing a lot of interviews. It's great seeing Ringo, and it's also great because it's the first time Paul McCartney will release a record ever since the great and underrated, I'd say, McCartney 3. I quite like McCartney 3. I think it has strong songs, even though it's not Paul's best album, and it's definitely not in that really toppermost of the poppermost of his solo records, I don't think. But it has incredible songs in it, and that will be my takeaway for this video actually, because in here I will discuss quickly what I am expecting and what we should expect from the new Paul McCartney record, The Boys of Dungeon Lane, out on the 29th of May of 2026, right? So, ever since I released my last video in which I discussed a bit about the album artwork and the album theming and the first single, Days We Left Behind, we've had new information, especially coming from the listening parties that Paul did in LA and in London. Before anything else, thank you for everyone who's been there and who's talked about the record. I'm taking all my information from those guys, and I'm envious of these guys too. I gotta tell you, not a bad envy, of course, good if that's even a thing. But man, come on, what a chance would that be, right? I hope he does something here in Brazil. I am convinced he'll come back for a tour. At least that's what it seems. Anyway, what can we expect from the Boys of Dungeon Lane? Many people, including myself, thought that we'd see a different thing, that we'd see a more introspective album, one that looks more back in time, and maybe something more acoustic, something less 21st century McCartney coded, I'd say. And well, it seems like that's not the case. It seems like the album follows that line of the latest Paul releases, excluding McCartney 3, excluding it because this is a pandemic project and whatnot. It seems like it follows the direction of New, of Egypt Station, of poppy, rocky Paul of the 21st century. What do you think about that? I wanted maybe something different, and I'll save my opinions for the end of the video. Let's talk about facts and other people's opinions. But what I've heard is that there's plenty of rockers. The Boys of Dungeon Lane is a name that recalls Liverpool, and there's also the artwork. There is the choice of the lead single being a very nostalgic, emotional, laid back track with Days We Left Behind. But apparently this is the light theme for the album. Apparently it comes and goes throughout in 3 or 4 songs out of the 14. That's at least what people tell us. And there's plenty of experimentation out there, it seems, on many tracks. Again, there's plenty of rocking Paul. And there's duet with Ringo, isn't there? So before I get into the duet with Ringo, we should expect that it should be pretty cool. It's coming out on Friday as a new single. I am excited for that. I'm gonna come back and discuss it with you guys. But before I dive into that, I just gotta say the last thing that really caught my attention is that again Paul kind of plays every single instrument, which is something I love. It's something I love, and not necessarily every single instrument like on McCartney 3, even though this has lighting, which contains the participation of his bandmates, his live bandmates. But most of McCartney's work has him playing the drums, playing bass and guitar, even his most prolific ones at that. There's plenty of that on Ram, even though it's maybe the worst example at that because he kind of formed a studio band just for that. But you know, the greatest example would be Band on the Run, and also the McCartney trilogy of records. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm not expecting great. Of course, I'm expecting great musicianship, but I'm not expecting to be mind blown with any of the musicianship. Up to this point, we know what McCartney can do and what he wants to do, and this is actually something I've been noticing. I haven't really paid attention to many of Paul's bass lines in his records in his 21st century's records, I'd say. He has kind of really gotten a step below what prime Paul on bass is. And that's not to say I don't like it, it's just that it isn't as mind blowing and as game changing as Paul in his prime, which, of course, could we expect that? Probably not. It's just a, I'm sorry, it's just a something that came to my mind really. It's not, definitely not criticism on Paul. On the contrary, is myself just acknowledging that Paul really changed lives when playing great bass, and he plays good bass. So I do kind of miss that on his latest records. But you know what? The bass could be great, could be incredible. I sure hope it is. Let's see. Apart from that, there's Ringo. There's Ringo on drums and on a duet. I believe it's called. I forgot what it's called. I did my homework, but I forgot what it's called. Home to Us, I believe. It's Home to Us, isn't it? It's a Ringo duet. I've seen people, Andrew Dixon actually, who's a YouTuber, mentioning Say Say Say. I've seen some other guy mentioning that it felt like a Liverpool sea chanty or a Liverpool bar song. So that's exciting, isn't it? I I tend to be a bit skeptical about that, especially because I am not a huge fan of Ringo's output lately. I liked his country stuff, but let's see how that goes. You know, I think it has my my cynical side tends to think it can be a bit jarring. Maybe I'm not sure. I really this is something new, so it is exciting, right? All in all, it may not seem like that, but I am incredibly. Now it's my turn to talk about my emotions and my opinion and my hype level. I am extremely excited, of course. Paul's releasing a new album at 83. We should be thankful for that every single day of our lives, really. I am a bit um my hype levels have gone down a bit simply because I was thinking with the promotion of the record being close to Liverpool, the Boys of Dungeon Lane, the hit single being um more introspective. I was maybe hoping for something a little bit different. Just like I couldn't help but mentioning Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. This is my favorite 21st century Paul McCartney record, mainly because it is Paul at his most introspective, maybe ever. It's got great ambiance and musicianship, which is Paul's fault, but also Nigel Godrich, the producer. So I was expecting maybe something along these lines. And this is where Paul really shines for me in the last 20 years. That doesn't mean the album will suck. This will probably mean that we will be in our comfort zones, listening wise, you know. I don't think it will knock me off my feet like maybe I was expecting. Let's see, right? Let's see. That's the fun in waiting for it. But knowing that felt familiar to people who heard it makes me think that I will enjoy the record just like I enjoy You and Egypt Station, but it maybe won't be as mind-blowing as I thought it would. And I gotta be honest, I have all the right in the world to want to be mind-blown by Paul because he does that all the time. And I will close the video on that note. Paul just blows me away on every single record he does. Let's take McCartney 3, the last one for instance. We have here Pretty Boys. It's a poppy song. It doesn't have anything too different, but it just blows me away how good it is. Same thing for Women and Wives. Same thing for the experimental side of Paul on Deep Deep Feeling, and especially for Paul writing incredible ballads on The Kiss of Venus, which is my highlight of this record. So that's what I expect. I expect to have so much fun, to be so happy and excited that I can listen to a new Paul McCartney project in 2026. And I expect to be mind blown by some of the songs, not by the entire album. I expect the album to be comforting in a way more than exciting or really defying in a way, but that can be great. That will be great. I am sure the album is great, and I'm sure I will tell you guys how I love a certain song that it simply changed my life again, because Paul does that all the time again. So thank you, Paul. I do want to think what you think about it down here. Please let me know, alright? I'll see you later. Cheers.